I didn't sustain long today, but I will. Of course, in general. Yeah, we called it the challenge of sustainability. I think it's important. And what sustainability actually is, right? So I'll first expect the unexpected, and that's definitely when it comes to sustainability, right? You know it's coming. And you know, trying to figure out what the best way is to reach the targets like net zero. Where to start, so to just stand and wait. So I'll show you what happens then. This is definitely and this happened, but it's just like with everything, you know, it's out there, and you know to show you prepare for the expected or the unexpected. It's it's basically sustain and the ability to sustain, which has become more actual. It proves that we rely on a lot of natural resources. And if we continue to experience it in 2050, 60, 70, 80, and after that, we will no longer be there. But the planet, everybody who lives on this planet, it's animals, people, plants, bio, everything. Definitions. And basically, I've done a presentation before on recycling and on materials. Environment, it's only waste, but it's not. There's more to it. What we can do in all these facets of sustainability. When you 55 seconds, at least on my computer, and when you think about it, of warehouses with all these systems, routers, network, connectivity, infrastructure. So a simple Google search actually already has an impact on sustainability, the way it operates. Click when you just press a button on the internet. It uses all resources and mostly natural resources. What your parents told you, pick up your garbage, work efficient, do your job. Daily life, that you can just clean your stuff, make sure you. When we look at environmental, when you look at your business or any business in general, resources, they cause pollution or use shared public space, even a fully online business. Focus on people, inclusion and diversify. And I think companies here, communities, it's important to manage them and manage the impacts proactively. Stimulus part of sustainability, because if they can't operate in a sustainable way, doesn't help the environmental piece of sustainability. On an economic level, of course, it has to support long-term. Doesn't have any effect on the longer term. It has to contribute to sustainability. And social, economic, they don't work without the other, right? One has to work with the other. What do we want to sustain? Obviously, it's the quality of life. We want to sustain a certain experience in the Western world is very different than what they experience in, for example, life, but actually they should be used to that quality of life as well. It's very hard to sustain. Have not even reached that level anyway. The quality of life should be available for everybody. Yeah, of course, I did a lot of research. There's so much information, but one of the main reports was actually delivered in 1987, but it started a couple of years. And read through it. It's actually quite interesting. It sometimes gets very complicated, but it's very interesting. What you see in the screen is sustainable development. Is development that meets the needs of the present without. I think that's just common sense. It's common sense that what you do now has an impact on. You need to think about that, what your impact or what the impact of us is on the future. Then there will be no future. I'll go to the next slide. The other way around, what can Uldi's do for sustainability? Definitely. It saves weight, but basically the airplane is filled anyway with cargo, so it doesn't really optimize the space. So you can load a little bit more cargo. So that means one flight less. So the lighter the container, you will have as well. So there will be a reduction in emissions. Then definitely there will be a huge savings. You will not be short. Improve the image. It's much more than that. Without the ULD, no cargo in the aircraft, right? Unless you bulk load it. It definitely generates growth if you have an efficient ULD, which is use it for a much longer time, has a long serviceability, then it will definitely generate topic when looking at ULDs. Safety comes before sustainability, obviously. surface, there will be less waste, and all ULDs and tied down materials instantly checked on safety. The longer you can use it in a decent way and have it serviced over lifetime, that's a very important part. Bob addressed it earlier in the beginning. Out there, it's a critical area, and there's no doubt that there's a huge amount of has grown its willingness to accept waste as the cost of doing business, right? So the industry, and because there's a lot of speed involved, speed of service, they just think, okay, I'll throw away. There's huge waste out there. Nobody ever questions the massive pile of cargo straps. Normal, it's probably waste, it's damaged, we cannot use it anymore. Well, they definitely can use it anymore when they do a proper. The users usually don't pay for them, so they don't really care. It's like a rental. So I have some facts and figures. I won't bother you. Facts and figures out there. It's incredible the amount of facts you can find. The cost, the number of people exposed to significant noise, which is the number of, actually this one I found quite interesting, the number of major airports that handle more in 2017 to 110 in 2040. So basically of movements, that's huge. And that will have a lot of noise effect, but also a lot of industry. The biggest challenges out there are the cost. Definitely. Air cargo industry is highly sensitive to fuel prices. Like we notice right now on the geopolitical situation. Industry availability, for example, on the sustainable aviation fuel. Basically, when you look around, there's around about 95 billion 25 million gallons of sustainable aviation fuel. Fact that you cannot get it everywhere, so it's not always readily available. Probably start to notice here. Same as the abbreviations which go together with sustainability. Combined with the sustainability, it's hard to really make something out of what we are all depending on one another. That's the so-called interdependence. biodiversity. Everything is caused by the globalization. Same conception and adoption of sustainable development, we would be able to generate the most important thing out there, create a meaningful change. $1.04 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions went out. However, if you look at the blue line, the aviation share of emissions share of our emissions has stayed the same. So that's actually okay. When you look at percent emissions, the complete transport section part of this is only 60. Small part, but it's a vital part in the emissions and reductions goal. We also have to make sure that we are well prepared for the future. Of course, need to continue. Market-based instruments. To address the climate impact of aviation, just beyond, what for that matter. So you have one in the European emissions trading system. A little bit different because of, I think, of time constraints. I won't go into thing as well, which you could take a look at. I put all the references down below and at the initiatives. Or becoming a requirement from the industry. It's the ESG, it's environmental, social, and governance. On sustainability, the United Nations has 17 goals. Very interesting. It's basically a blueprint for a sustainable future. That's how I see it. Everybody knows. There's a lot of commitment from the airlines, for example, Delta, DHL, Calita. Has these efforts to go to net zero by 2050 or even sooner. And have ICAO, the International Civil and Aviation Organization, they have interesting report or program. To cut delays, switching to low carbon fuels, which is SAF, and investing in emission. Actually the biggest one of them all. It's international, and that's initiatives and the possibilities and everything around. It seems that everybody and maybe some compromises left and right, and we work all together, then we get or program is worth nothing if nobody acts on it. Oh, sorry. I'll go back one slide. Use of sustainable aviation fuel, investment in new aircraft technology is single-use plastic is I think that's the lowest hanging fruit out there, which we really need to pick up and change. Use plastics now, which I think is a good program to maybe a standard requirement. Whatever you do, sustainability should be a standard requirement when you be part of any contractual commitment or agreement. The infrastructure, company DNA, it's a transformation process. That's maybe very important. It's change, so it's a huge behavior transformation. Some from the internet, which I found quite good. You can read them yourself. I won't go through all of them. Hangers, increasing lifetime of ULDs. You know, I think it wasn't mentioned earlier, but I think know that, for instance, in the horsebox industry, it works very well and very efficient. We can transport them all collapsed. It takes a little bit less space, so we only need to use one. And moving it on 10 trucks. Sharing knowledge, I think that's extremely important. Internet, there is way more out there, and if we, even as ULD Care, savings, yeah, of course, when you consider sustainability, you can have the investment. There's always an investment, but it will definitely result. I do believe that growth of the aviation industry and any other industry for that matter can come to an and Google are opening up really huge warehouses here, and they're not unless they find other ways to create the energy. More effective use of airspace, very important, less waste, improved utilization. Standard requirements, like I said earlier, infrastructure and airline incentives are also important. An airline to start any program. Our facility, it's an older picture, and actually yeah, it's a terrible. If you see this site, it's terrible. The good thing is, however, the customer them We repaired them, and whatever needed to be disposed went to a recycling facility. These nets and straps are everywhere, and nobody uses them. Well, you can also see in the middle there. Sometimes there's an island which solely exists from tied down material. I haven't been there yet. I do understand the speed is important, but we need to change that behavior. So return it to a station where they can sort it and then reuse it again. 8 repair stations, so we do see many challenges. Obviously, one of them user, and therefore they dispose of it. So they don't know the manual, the maintenance manual. And it's not going to repair shop, it's not being served, they just dispose of it. So that's not good. So the safety aspect, it will definitely help. Mishandling happens all the time. They just cut it off. It has to as quickly as they can. They go out with the forklift, they destroy the ULD and maybe also lot as well. So when you have your own pallet, then you get it back, and you usually notice meet the same requirements, and then you dispose of it. I think it's very important that the net goes back to losses. Yeah, they start everywhere, right? They just pull it off, put it in a corner. Has a serial number. Nobody checks it, and nobody really checks who the actual owner is, and they don't want to take it. It's almost like single-use plastic. While it's way more expensive, a net is good. It has a lifetime, right? It could last 3 to 5 years, but we all know that the net and the strap, you lose it and you have to buy a new one. And we, as a vendor, okay, it's great that you come to us and that is we need to change that. The materials, that's also another thing. Use, maybe we can change that as well, to change to make it into even but changing the materials into a more sustainable material. And so I got 5 more minutes. I think I'll reach it. And when it comes to ULD Care, chance to change the future. Joining forces across countries and able to report on progress on the various global industry initiatives. So not only ULD Care, other initiatives on which we can report and inform as well. The ESG. ULD Care is able to assist here and to advise on how to implement. You know, But with all our efforts and all the combined efforts, I do believe that we will be able to yep. So short right now is make the ULD as important to sustainability as it is to cargo, right? Like I said, it is to cargo. I think we have reached our target there. Many reports out there. I think the United Nations with the 17 goals. What we should do. Standards should be a standard part of every operation. Compliance. Measurements, very important to be able to measure it. You can't manage it if you can't measure it. No way of measuring anything if you can't even manage it and control it. Biggest key take. Then the sustainability topic will be on the agenda, and I think it will be on the agenda anyway forever. Effort, it will be endless to continue on sustainability. I do really believe that it's not only me, it's not only you, it's everybody out there. Current growth in the industry and any industry for that matter, will be a very challenging target.